Okay, we're talking about the 3-point squat in sports when you talk about point, 2-point, 3-point, 4-point. If you don't remember from earlier, the training earlier, that if you've gone through it, I've talked about it, but it's the active points of contact on the ground. So we're going to be in 3-point here, which means you're going to have your toes engaged, knees up off the ground, and one hand on the ground. So let's just relax for 1 second. The way you're going to set yourself up, you can do this with an elastic or a cable. We're actually hooked up to a cable right now. And you're going to take some sort of belt, some sort of loop, and you're going to sling it around one shoulder. Okay? And then you walk yourself out directly in front of the line of pull. Okay? This exercise does need to be repeated on both sides. But because it's a squat-driven exercise, normally I say, like, if we're going to do 4 or 6 sets, I do half the sets with it slung on one side and half the sets slung on the other side, because the offset, there's a lot of crossover with the offset, so you should be able to get away with that. Okay, so from this position, toes up, legs straight, get your feet closer together. Okay. So your knees and your feet need to be exactly the same distance apart. Keep yourself nice and lined up. Neutral spine is an issue in this one because there's a lot of things going on. You're going to be posted up on one hand. A lot of torquing is going to happen in your spine. So you need to really keep yourself stable. If you need an outside observer to see if your shoulders are lined up with your hips and you're not rotated, then do that. The other thing that you do is when you lift your knees up and you lift one hand up, just have a look under that both your knees are straight in line with your feet and that one knee is not higher off the ground than the other, which is really common with this exercise. You really got to force yourself to get those knees equal distance to the ground and not have yourself twisted. Okay, so go ahead and come up into that position. So one hand up off the ground. You can have your hand pushing forward for those of you that play rugby or do tackling sports or anything like that. This is an incredibly useful drill for that. From here, without moving your hand, you're going to squat forward, extending your legs as far as you can, and then come back. Now, if your hand isn't far enough forward, you're not going to be able to extend your legs all the way. So yeah, you definitely have to have your hand ahead of you before you start, and then go, squat, and then back, okay? And you can see here, Julian's far knee is coming up off the ground. Get your legs closer together. That's it. And I want you to drop your neutral spine. Good. A little more. Good. And press forward, and then back down, okay? And relax. Good. Okay, you can see there he's having a hard time with the right knee and right hip are coming up off the ground, and he's having a hard time holding that neutral spine completely. So at this point, I would make sure that if you're doing this and the same thing's happening to you, have a look under. Make sure that your knee profile is exactly the same to the ground. And when you check your neutral spine, make sure that you can feel a tiny little bit of compression at the lowest part of your spine, and then only back off a tiny little bit until that compression goes away. So let's move you over just a little bit to the right. Okay, we're a little offset from the cable machine, so this might make it a little bit easier. So get your toes up, knees up off the ground. Now check your neutral spine. Good, hand up. Check your neutral spine again. Look at your knee profile. That's it. And squat. That's it. And then back down. Perfect. Good. Excellent. Much better. Okay?